as you said, this wear and tear that we have reminds us that we are doing badly those moments where we do not have peace well, and what is called the stress is generated.
That's a lot of stress.
Why? Because we don't generate those congratulations, bro, because you just want to go against what's right. Don't you want to pay attention to your conscience, what your conscience wants to tell you? Because as we have already seen, we live in a simulation where in the past we project a future, and in our present, the decisions we make can affect the future. So we always live up to the future. We don't live in the present because this second I finished with that new thing, and we have to think about in that second that it is coming forward. So we're always going to make decisions that can affect our future or decisions that can help us in the future. And that stress is caused when we don't become aware, we don't pay attention to our consciousness.
Why no? And apart from that, I mean, there is the public or many, lots of people. No, they don't understand the process that they can do to be able to lead, not only understand their consciousness, but to be able to have this as perhaps a very good tool. For example, many people make decisions when they are stressed. The stress is very high due to their cortisol levels. And I think that, for example, in schools, in academic environments, they must teach emotional intelligence, because how can you raise awareness of a problem if you are completely stressed, or if you have a lot of daughters? It will be very difficult for you because these emotions will make you cloudy.
Yeah.
First, your thinking is going to endorse bad things, and your conscience is going to be clouded. Then the simple steps of being able to raise awareness better before making a decision is very simple. And I think that people don't take it. They don't have much value on this, but the simple fact of breathing deeply for 5 or 10 minutes to lower your stress level, to let your brain know that we are already calm, and from there analyze the problem, but not only from one perspective, but from as much as you can encompass in perspective, even going so far as to ask the other person's point of view, to know what thoughts there are beyond what you cannot think, because now you are raising awareness of a problem with another consciousness, with other experiences. Then from there, be able to maneuver with all that information and become aware. And in this case, if you have had a good conscience with all the knowledge you have, then listen to the voice of your conscience to make a decision. No. And I think that is essential. It is essential to learn how to be able to use your conscience as not only the guide, but the one that pushes you to do good, because you have already raised awareness. You have already calmed yourself down to raise awareness.
I don't just tell you, forget you, your conscience exists because it happened to me. So it is true in the moment of clouds and your conscience is cloudy. It is true, but as your son, sweat, and above all, know that everything has a solution, that you have to wait for the path, but you have to let yourself be guided by your conscience. So because we want, as I told you and I have said on many occasions, get used to immediacy since nothing is immediate. So you have to take a real time to calm down so that your solution occurs. Because your consciousness, as you say, becomes cloudy, and unfortunately making decisions in a chaotic stage in your brain is when you're in chaos are the worst execution.
Sure.
Yes, I absolutely believe that what you're saying should indeed happen, not as an isolated event, because these occurrences affect everyone and we're not aware of how to address them right now. With what I've learned and what we've discussed earlier, I now appreciate this period because, as I've mentioned before, we lived in a moment of immediacy and I've made a decision. It is undoubtedly true, and you don't listen to your conscience. Health is something I've already experienced.
Of course, I think that we have all reached those moments where we don't really think about the solution, but rather think about how we should feel or how to eliminate those bad feelings or the anger. And we can be unreasonable, sometimes not. And what is LA? It is as if consciousness, having this emotion so strong, is not found because perhaps access to consciousness is not, there is no connection. Maybe because we are so full of emotion that we cannot reach to that point where we can raise awareness, and consciousness needs tranquility to reach it, or one type of serenity. That's why sometimes in moments of your mulpa, it's good not to have an answer, but to ask good questions. And something that you and I always talk about, David, the importance of asking good questions to be able to understand the problem even better. And I think that perhaps is a gift that we can give ourselves, is when we have these moments of high stress. What questions do we ask ourselves to understand not only frustration and how to solve it, but how can we prevent it if we already know what we are? Suppose short of anger, how can we prevent that? And how can we also challenge ourselves to evolve with that? And I believe that consciousness, when you reach a point where you ask yourself, well, why am I so frustrated? For this reason, don't assume it's a free topic. Your conscience itself gives you the answer. That is, your conscience says, well, because in the past your dad yelled at you a lot, let's say, and you haven't been able to get over that yet. And sometimes not. In other words, conscience tells me I have the information, but now you must decide what you want to do with that information, what you are going to do to bring a new resolution. And how are you going to edit these memories into something that has now strengthened you or can strengthen you?
Let's see, you are already in a company. I started to experience something talking about the topic we were going to start today. I started to generate frustration inside me, but I was walking. I'm going to generate completely negative thoughts. Yes, I generated a lot of negative thoughts, and my decision making was the worst. I'm telling you like this. In other words, I create a conflict because I realized that filling you with all this, and of course if my conscience told me, hey, calm down, no. And I generated a conflict that I later breathed and was able to fix, because it was a big conflict that I realized and generated the experience. And it's true. Generating negative situations causes your behavior to change and generate actions not only on your part but also on your environment. So yesterday I did it with experience, and it's true. Then I had to pull back, calm down, do all the techniques, and I already prosecuted it and I already solved it and generated a more positive response, and I had to generate myself. I said my conscience. He talked for a long time about not getting me into this greed book to experiment, and I already said, stop, don't think again.
Nonsense, but
Like in that.
And of course, that is the end that consciousness seeks, that we let us learn to be responsible for our actions, not because conscience knows that when we don't do it, we become irresponsible, and irresponsibility will bring more problems and less peace.
New York City.
There's so much more beyond the walls. Let's explore.
I'm a beast. You know I'm a beast. Welcome to the feast. My whole team off the leash. We don't know defeat. Everybody eat. Hey, you know I'm a beast. You know I'm a beast. Welcome to the feast. My whole team off the leash. We don't know defeat. Everybody eat. Hey, you know I'm a beast.
Can I run up the score, run up the board, breaking the mold? Ay, ay, walking the door. You know what happened? We step on the floor. Ay, ay, coming from one. You don't want problems, you already know it. Ay, ay.
Maestro style, cosmic call. Transform your mind. It is time to create.
Science fiction everywhere.
I'm trying to coexist